We're chasing comedy, working on jokes, working on bits, seeing what sticks, seeing what stinks. We're Brian and Dustin, and we're chasing comedy.
Yay! Hey, Myq Kaplan, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Chasing Comedy podcast. I'm Brian Scott McFadden, and Dustin Chafin is not with us. Although we will miss him dearly. He'll be back very soon, probably next week. We have the great, wonderful beneficence. Is that a word, Myq?
I like it.
Of having a very funny comedian guy I've worked with a bunch of times at some very strange gigs. He's been on Letterman. He's been on Comedy Central. He's had his own special. What? At Comedy Central, you had a special on there, or MTV? What was it exactly?
I had a half hour on Comedy Central. Then I had my first hour special on Netflix in 2014, and it has since moved to Amazon. And then I have a dry bar special that came out a couple of years ago. And I just filmed my second hour special last year, and it will be out soon.
How is that for an avalanche of plugs? That's fantastic.
Good night, everybody. That's all I came here for.
That's all. There you go. Myq is now going to exit the stage and go practice his ovation guitar. Now that he's used us for whatever marketing nourishment he can get. Okay.
Hey man, yeah. I just answer the questions that I'm asked. You asked what kind of special, and there's so many specials. I think. I have so many that, like, are they even special? And the answer is yes. They're all special. They're all, look at that.
Every one of them is unique and magical in and of itself. It exists in its own world. And they're all
if you have 4 kids, you probably love all your 4 kids, I bet. So.
I don't know about that. I don't. I think some people would. I think some people, and I could, as one who came from a family of 3, where the love was not socialism friendly and distributed evenly to all of the peasants. I will attest that favorites are played even in love situations, and so that's my take. But whatever. Moving past that. And Myq, you also have a book out that's very cool and funny. If you know, Myq has this Myq has one of the more intriguingly intricate minds when it comes to wordplay and stand-up, and a fascination with words and language and the paradoxes that not many comics wade into that. Like there's a handful of people that notice the intricacies of language and deconstruct them, and it seems to be a really great skill that you seem to have. If you read your book or watch your stand-up, there's a strong understanding of language and the bizarreness of some of the. You can give me an example of some stuff that you have, but that's I'm trying to explain this in a way that like a joke that you would say that in your style that would kind of epitomize this.
I appreciate that. Number one, yes, I am kind of a lone hero, just a brave explorer in this vein. So many comedians fear treading into the world of wordplay. Can't even spell world without the word word, because it's 4/5 of the word world is word, and that's the kind of thing that you're talking about. But even you saying intriguingly intricate, I'm like, oh, look at that. I'm intrigued by how similar intrigue and intricacy have, the intrigacies that we have here. So those are just kind of off the top of I could get some from the bottom of my head if you want, but those are just off the top. But from the bottom of my heart, thanks for being here. This is not just the top. A lot of people just give you off the top of their heart, but I'm giving you bottom of heart and bottom of head. From the bottom of my head, I really appreciate it.
Now, there you go. You just gave us a complete kind of, and I'm going to use, I sometimes use the wrong word to describe something like I was going to say exegesis, and that is completely not what you just did, but you did give an exploration of what you do, an exploration of what some of the stuff that you that you specialize in, which is kind of Carlin-esque, early Carlin stuff, some of Carlin's stuff, so Carlin-esque. Stephen Wright sometimes wades into that. Mitch Hedberg, but not many people deconstruct the language with a kind of like a nerdy attention to detail and efficiency that you've framed words in ways that I've never even seen. I'm like looking for your book; it's around here somewhere. So that I could find some example. There's something about a sperm whale in there that I think is funny. What's the sperm whale thing?
Sure. I think first the book is called Heartbrain Art Train, and it's the artist
Adam. Is that online? Because Adam is a master of finding these things so he can boost them. So
you can go to either my website, MyQKaplan.com, and click on book, or the artist, RaminNazer.com, and it's available there too. And there's some like sample pages. The one that you're up, that is it. He found it. And
there it is.
So there's one. I think if you like scan down, you might find and click on one of those, you'll find not the one that Brian is looking for. I will describe what Brian is looking for, but yeah, that's a pretty good one. Click right there, then go back up. And that one says, if you love something, set it free. Also, if something doesn't spark joy, set it free. So whether you like it or don't.
Move that up, Adam. I want to see that. Is it? Keep going, scrolling down. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, marvel, enjoy, but I think
if you love something, set it free. Also, if something doesn't spark joy, set it free. So whether you like it or don't, get rid of it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the sayings and aphorisms and kind of like meme things that people put up like that.
Oh, yeah. That one's every joke is an inside joke if you don't leave the house. That one was conceived of during the pandemic. I really like Ramin's art is so wonderful. I like that the guy in the window is just like nudging the lamp. Like that's who's in on the inside joke. He's
that's
like,
really funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ramin is an incredible artist, wonderful follow on social media. I'm thrilled to get to work with him. He's illustrated a bunch of my album covers and podcast logos. So, and it's especially, I think, to your point, that one is bowling alley should have a hologram of a tiny Indiana Jones running in front of every ball. And right. I think that the thing that you're noting about my comedy, which I don't know if you know the comedian Jacqueline Novak, she's a friend who once assessed my comedy as, she says, a lot of people might think, Myq, that your comedy is about words, and that's not quite what it is. She says, I think that your comedy is about a man obsessed with words. And I was like, I don't know if I'd use the word obsessed. And we're like, there it is right there. But determining exactly what word it is, whether obsession or not. So I think that the fact that I am as, linguistically and auditorily oriented as I am in this, artistic creative space, I really love getting to work with this visual artist who, I share the ideas, and sometimes, people, if you're a visual thinker, maybe it will ignite something in your own brain and be like, oh, I can imagine what you're talking about. I can envision it. Like, you read a book and you might imagine what the characters look like or what the landscape being described looks like. And, so for my comedy being, spoken or written, you get the words. And then so it's like an honor and a delight to work with someone who plays in the visual space as well, and to be able to collaborate with Ramin like I do. I love the book.
It's like how did you find him? Because it's like Bernie Taupin and Elton John. It's like this weird. I always find that coupling so fascinating. The combination of those two things, because Bernie Taupin was not a musician. Elton John couldn't write lyrics. And he meets this guy. He meets this guy through mail or whatever, like an ad or something, which like he saw. I can't remember exactly. I saw the movie. I can't remember exactly, but I always found that fascinating because if you listen to Bernie Taupin's lyrics, they don't really make sense. Which is what makes the thing great. Is like the music doesn't quite match, but it actually does. It's so fascinating. Rocket Man. It's like you've got this amazing musician, Elton John, who writes these things, and then you get these just bizarre stuff like My Father's Gun, that song, like that Bernie Taupin wrote, if you know that song. It's just he writes these very strange stories. And when you meld those two things together with great melodies and then something that doesn't even seem like it would fit, but it kind of magically does. That's like, and so when looking at how his art complements your linguistic flair, and how did you guys hook up? That's like an interesting hookup. Like,
I know exactly. So he also, in addition to I feel like the visual art space is his main, the thing that he does the most these days, in the world, artistically, creatively, but he also is a stand-up comedian. And so on February 27th, 2012, I sent him an email because I had seen, I think I just found it from his through his website, because I saw he did a set on the Late Late Show with, at the time, Craig Ferguson. And so I just said, real funny set on Ferguson. I enjoyed watching you do comedy. And he wrote back a mere 8 minutes later. I sent it at 10:05 p.m. and he sent it at 10:13 p.m. He might have been in a different time zone. I cannot confirm. He lived in Austin for a time. He's in LA now. But he said, holy crap, thank you. I'm a huge fan of you. In fact, your Ferguson set from 2010 is one of my favorite late night sets ever. Not that the most recent one wasn't great, just that the 2010 one really hit me hard. Right. Also a big fan of Vegan Mind Melt. Thanks for the nice email. And then I wrote back, what if I read you every of the, we've exchanged 604 emails, according to, that's 604 email threads since 2012, so that's 13 years. It's a reasonable amount of emails, but I think this is a thing that happens it's like a beautiful thing about being a comedian is when you've done it long enough, and you achieve enough of a presence in the world, especially if you get to, the good fortune to be on television. And like, I got that. I'm very grateful. And he got that. And now we both had seen each other. We had never met, but we knew something of each other to the point that we're like, oh, like you get to know somebody a little bit. Obviously, somebody's stand-up is not all of who they are. Sometimes people do a character. Sometimes people's comedy isn't based in who they are. But there was something about his set that really spoke to me, and I loved it. And I told him, and then, from that point, that is how we met and became friends and, started doing each other's podcasts and shows. And that is where the collaboration began.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And so Ramin, if you haven't, you can find him. I just want to make sure people know. Ramin Nazer is a funny comedian as well as an amazing visual artist. I want to show like one or two more of those pictures because they really do illustrate kind of, they add this added
illustrate.
Dimension.
All right.
See what I did there?
There's a good one. The stars, they're just like us. We start as collapsing clouds of gas and dust, attain equilibrium after millions of years, and then explode. That's what we all do.
Right. Hey, yeah, these are great. What is this cow? What is it? Oh, that thing is getting thrown out. We saw that one.
The click there. That one's a pretty fun one. Afraid your teeth will fall out? Remember, most skeletons have all their teeth. From what I've seen.
Yeah. See, that's one of those jokes or whatever that I look at and you go, all right, how the hell did you, like, what was that, like something you were just sitting in the car? Like, because my comedy is usually based on using words to illustrate something that really annoys the hell out of me, or experiences I've had, or redundant things that I'm nauseated by, or whatever. I don't even know how to describe my comedy. I'm all over the map. I do funny voices, but I do characters, but I also do. So I never know. But like something like that, like how does a joke like that come to fruition, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know, like that is a funny, you didn't even think about that. Everyone's afraid of losing their teeth, and skeletons have their teeth. I don't even really, that's true. Yes. Why is that?
I mean, I haven't like surveyed all of the skeletons, but from the few skeletons that I've had the good fortune or bad misfortune to come across, that's been something that so I guess to answer your question, I can't answer it for that specific joke because I don't specifically remember, but I can like zoom out more broadly because I mean, from what you've described and from, us taking car rides and sort of, really trying to deconstruct or construct and reconstruct your jokes and your ideas. Like I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like some of your jokes are like really deep dives. Like you'll, I think, spend a lot of time delving into, one interaction or one like suite of interactions, and you'll create something, you'll build and build and build. And whereas at least when I was starting out, I would say, and for the jokes that are in the book and for like jokes that I used to do in my act a lot, which were more one-liners as opposed to like larger, more cohesive pieces, which I still, the one-liners still come, but I now try to, add some greater context. But in the beginning, it was just like a lot of spaghetti at the wall. Like I would have, if I had an open mic, I would go and do like, 30 jokes in 5 minutes, just like, one joke every 10 seconds. And if 2 of them stick, you're like, all right, that's 2 that I can add to the pile of works sometimes, and eventually you keep stacking those up. And so just really any thought during the day, like, I feel like sometimes people would say, are these things that you came up with while you're high? And like, they're the kinds of things that I understand why people are asking that. But when I am high, the best idea that I come up with is lying down. I don't necessarily like weed doesn't make me the most creative historically, but just allowing the brain to do whatever it does. And not everybody's brain, here's a fun thing. I feel like when I talk to people about meditation, like when I have people on my podcast, like that's a question that I often ask. Like I'm not trying, sometimes the podcast could be called like Myq does his best to not try and convert everyone into beginning a meditation practice, because it's not, you don't have to, nobody has to, but there's the thing that's most common, I feel like, as a response for people who don't meditate, who are like, understand the benefits of it, understand that like there's scientific evidence that suggests that it has positive, results in a person's life. So science agrees. Also, like the woo-woo magical thinking community also is like, that's meditation. Like, what is it? Your consciousness aligning with the universe in some way, being present, being mindful. Like whenever science and magic agree, I listen, And so, but people often say when they're like, I've tried meditating and I couldn't clear my mind. I couldn't get my mind to stop doing its thing, as if that's the thing that meditation, like that, I think that's just a misunderstanding of what meditation is or can be. In fact, like getting distracted and realizing you were distracted is like a key element of like mindfulness meditation. Like that is being mindful when you're like, oh, I got distracted. That's mindfulness right there. That's meditation at its, at its finest. And so this is all to say, I think everyone does have, like, whether they meditate or not, whether they're thinking about it or not, like when you sit down to, if you try to clear your mind, you will realize that you cannot. Like it is impossible to, unless you are like a divinely enlightened Buddha type omniscient master, like where you can slow down time or stop time or make it so that the thoughts come fewer and farther. But whatever it is, that's not what's happening for me. There are thoughts constantly flowing. And I think there's a book that I read once called Several Short Sentences About Writing by Verlin Klinkenborg. It's really great. And one of the things that he offers...
I'm a big Herlin Klinkenborg fan, by the way. I've always,
you're a Borg head? Fellow Borg head. That's so nice. Yeah.
Always been. I love his earlier stuff. I love his earlier stuff. Yeah. Always been.
We don't call him. But... So the one of the things I remember him pointing out for any artist, a writer or a comedian or anybody who creates, the thing that you do is you notice things, and beyond that, you notice that you have noticed something. Like we all notice things, that's the classic comedian line, like Seinfeld perhaps originating, Carlin, Robert Klein, whoever was like, have you ever noticed? And then they say something that they noticed, and then the audience is like, yes, I did notice that, but I didn't notice that I did notice it. So thank you, comedian, for noticing that you noticed, and then asking me if I noticed, because now I can notice that I did notice the way that you did. And so that is how I came up with any idea that I've had. And that's how I received it, is like, I noticed something. And especially if you notice something and you have the same thought more than once, if you have the same thought about a fear or an annoyance or a desire or whatever it is, and be like, oh, well, that's something that maybe it's unique to me, and I can share it with people and they'll be like, wow, what a unique, creative, completely individual being. Or more likely, it's something that you're afraid of or annoyed by or fascinated by. Then probably there's other people that have their own annoyances, fears, or fascinations. And so, like for this particular one, like, I'm not specifically right now. I mean, probably I had just gone to the dentist and the dentist was like, hey, you need to get some kind of retainer or like grinding prevention device to go in your mouth at night or your teeth will shatter. That's a thing that they told me once. And I was like, oh, I don't want my teeth to shatter. I don't want to lose my teeth. We're all these constantly evolving, deteriorating meat machines. And so I think that's where that came from, that fear of the deterioration of the meat machine.
Yeah, because I'm a Hamlet junkie. I started a theater company, and I whenever I looked at that, I always wondered how many, whenever they did Yorick, they always had a skull there, and a lot of them had the teeth in them, and I'm wondering what percentage. A lot of them had this, some of the teeth are missing. But now I'm thinking back to all of the Hamlets that I've seen. Whenever Hamlet's anywhere, I go see it, and I actually played it at the New York Public Library. And so I think looking at a skull, I'm like now going to be watching that for Myq Kaplan's joke. I'm wondering how many did Yorick have his all of his teeth? I can't quite remember.
And of course, the famous line from Hamlet: "Tooth be or not tooth be? Is tooth be in there? If you letter them." And here's, if I may do a brief scene. This is Hamlet at the public library. To be. Shh. Oh, sorry. To be or not to be. Thank you.
There you go. See, Myq Kaplan right there, weaving comedy out of the ether. By the way, on meditation, I attempted a meditation many times and found myself, like many people, getting extremely frustrated with my inability to be really good at it, which of course is the opposite of what you're supposed to, but in the time, I was in a very ego-centered place where, of course, I would evaluate anything I did on a scale, whether it was if I wasn't doing it right, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Like if I was doing it good, which is as revealing a thing as you could possibly learn, which was what meditation was probably trying to tell me at the time. But I was too caught up in my own grandiose issues to recognize that. So I would abandon the practice and then go back to it and go, I'm still not good at it. I'm going to wait until someday when I'm good at it to start doing it, right? That was like, oh, yeah.
That's so funny. That's so interesting. Like, I mean, very relatable content, number one, as from a fellow person who likes being good at things. And there are things in life that, like when I was a kid, I was a good artist. I was a visual artist, and like the teachers and adults in my life were like, this kid, not just my family, but they're like, look, this kid is good. Like I got, in the school journal, they would put my cartoons and they like, wow. And it felt really good. And then at a certain point when I was, I don't know, like 11, 12, 13, I felt like my art wasn't improving. And I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to be the best anymore. But many years later, I was like, oh, like number one, the goal of art is not, for most people, I mean, the healthy goal is not to be the best. It's to experience the joy of it, to speak, what calls you to speak, or to create in whatever form. But even practically speaking, I was like, oh, it's not that I didn't get better, so I stopped. I didn't get better because I stopped. Like if you want to get better at something, you have to be worse at it. You have to be worse. Yes. And probably it was just that I had more self-awareness. Like, because it's not like the stuff I was doing at age 11 was like worse than what I was doing at age 5. It's just I didn't have the self-consciousness about it at age 5. But the idea of this being what you were thinking about meditation adds this extra level because of the if there is a function of meditation, it is to get better at knowing ourself and knowing where we are in a moment, and being, if it's mindfulness, being present in that moment, being, accepting and embracing of who we are in that moment. And you're like, I'm not good at embracing who I am right now, so I'm not going to do it till later when I'm better at it, which I'm not going to practice. Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to bother loving myself because I'm just not good at it. So I'm just going to hate myself.
I'll
for not
love
being
myself
good at
when I'm
myself.
dead.
Yeah. When I'm well, wait, down the road, I have a weird kind of thing that happened one time. I was struggling. I was trying to. I've taken up the guitar many times and then thrown the guitar away because I was getting so frustrated with not getting better at it. And sometimes when I reach a plateau or something, I went to the New York Guitar Academy, and every time I started to be able to play something, I would get, I don't know whether it was just like a ceiling I had or something, but it was not improving. And I told a therapist about this. This is such a weird thing. I told a therapist that I was so frustrated. I was like, I should be better at this, right? I should be getting better at this, but I don't want to practice. I just want to be able to play, really well, right? I don't want to go through the pain of things. And I said to him, I go, but you have to practice, and you have to kind of fail to get good. And this was one of those moments in therapy where the therapist probably said the wrong exact thing. And I think he goes, well, actually, Brian, there was a guy in Borneo, a kid who picked up the guitar and started playing with no effort whatsoever and was able to play. And I remember going home and getting incredibly depressed, okay? Because I thought, well, then what's wrong with me, right? And I went back to the therapist and go, why did you tell me that? How does that help me? Basically, all I've spent is the last week beating myself up because I'm not able to lift up the guitar and be Segovia or Eddie Van Halen, unlike the kid in Borneo who randomly picked up a guitar out of the dirt or something and was able to play masterfully. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to practice. And it's the thing is but you have to practice to do it. But he didn't confirm that. He literally said, and we had this huge kind of fight. I think I stopped seeing him after that because I was like, what is the point of you telling me that? How does that help me? All I feel like is shit about myself, that I want to be, that the kid in Borneo is better than I am at guitar. And he doesn't even practice. That's something a father would say. I didn't practice at all and I was masterful. I don't know what's wrong with you with your daily doing your scales and things like that. Who ever heard of such a thing? So I don't know. That's just a weird little offshoot story. I don't know what the point of that was.
Yeah.
But,
did he have an answer when you asked why he said that? Because
I think he made the misassumption that and we did talk about it. We actually did kind of hash it out. He was making a misassumption that I believed that everything must be painful and agonizing to do it. And what he didn't realize was that I had kind of the opposite of that. A lot of patients probably have that, where they are they masochistic, or they think that they have to suffer to get. And my thing was actually sort of the opposite, which was, I think everything should be easy for me, and if it requires any effort at all, I've already failed. I'm still, you know what I mean? I should be able to pick up a piano and just start playing because I was just born with this talent. And if I have to practice at all, obviously something's wrong with me, and I should go to therapy to figure out what it is, so I can play the guitar like the kid in Borneo without any effort. So I wouldn't play the guitar. I'd go to therapy to figure out why I couldn't play the guitar like the kid in Borneo. That was what was wrong. I thought something was wrong if I had to put effort into something, which is a very strange kind of weird dynamic that I had to work on. When I would work on a bit, and I would just get so frustrated if I didn't get the joke right away. And gradually I kind of had to learn that you're going to write 30 jokes to get one. But if I didn't get the first joke right away, and sometimes you get the first joke right away to become effortless and easy. And so I think they should all be that way. And sometimes they're not, so that was like a struggle for me. And I think it's something that doesn't get talked about enough, that some people don't think that they should be great without effort. Right. Like, I don't know, there might be something,
Absolutely. I mean, I have a question for you, but first I'll share a brief experience that I relate to. So I played the violin since I was 4. My parents were music teachers and they started me early. And when you start early, like, you have the opportunity to, if there's some natural talent that can be, I mean, it all takes work. Even like Yo-Yo Ma is like, however old he is, and still he's like, I think I'm about to get it. Even Carlin was like 50 or so by the time he was like, now I know what I'm doing, And so like all of us, even our first great joke, whatever first great joke you wrote 20, 30, however many years ago, like the best joke you wrote then, you could look back at now and be like, oh, that was like, baby's first joke, maybe you think it's perfect. Like every once in a while, the perfect joke does come out, but it's not because we ourselves are alone perfect. It's because we, along with the circumstances, like we were right place, right time, right brain, like neuron igniting. And we're like, oh, wow, that like incredible. Like, I'm not saying this is like the greatest joke in the world, but there was a show I was doing a couple weeks ago, months ago, some time ago, and Paul Mercurio was on stage, and I was hosting the show, and so I came back after he was crushing the whole room, and there was one guy in the front, like 50, 100 people like dying, like one guy like enjoying it, smiling, like not laughing outwardly as much, and so Paul like comes to him and like does some crowd work with him and ends up asking him like, what does he do and what does he enjoy, and the guy maybe is like British or something and mentions cricket. He mentions the game of cricket. And so I came back and I was like, oh, it's really funny that the one guy who wasn't making any sound brought up cricket, because
that's great.
And like, great. I mean, I noticed, but I couldn't have done that without all of the circumstances, without the Big Bang, like banging exactly as bigly as it did how many billion years ago, and then led to that person being born and come to that show.
Perfect.
But when I was, and so I was good at the violin when I was a kid. I was a good artist. Like I had some natural talent, and I was made to practice, and I did practice, not as much as I was supposed to, but enough. But I was good enough, and I was good at sight reading, so I didn't have to I felt like I didn't have to practice that much to be decent. And then I was thinking like, man, imagine if I practiced hours a day. Imagine how good I would, and that imagination was enough for me. I was like, I would be so good if I know how to do it. If I just did it, then I'd be so good. Like, never mind the fact that to learn to play the guitar, I could teach you to play the guitar. Like basically I could get, you can learn chords, and you can play 90% of rock music, you can, and you can have fun doing it. And then to become Eddie Van Halen or Joe Satriani or, somebody who has the talent and has put in the hours and the years, that does take hours and years in addition to that talent. And so for me, even if I had practiced the violin for hours and hours every day, I wouldn't have doubled my capacity. I would have increased it by 1%, 5%, 10%, whatever small percent. So it felt even better to be like, imagine, I'd be incredible. I mean, I'd be like just slightly better than the decent that I was. And so my question to you is, when you started out in comedy, like, there's stories of people like who started when, a Chappelle starting when he was 15 already, or like I saw early sets of Stanhope that he put out as like extras on his DVDs. He's 17 years old, and he's not the guy that he would eventually, the genius that he would become, but he has like funny, good jokes at 17, right?
Yeah.
And like to read his memoir, his autobiography, like he was a weird-brained, creative kid encouraged by his weird mom in ways. And so there was always something there, but then it was honed over the years. So my question for you, like, how old were you when you started doing comedy? And were you like good out the gate, or were you like, did you think you were good and that's what enabled you to have the confidence to keep going and you didn't abandon it because you're like, I should be the best at it immediately?
Sure. Well, I started my 20s when I got out of college, and my father was a comedian, and my grandfather was a failed alcoholic vaudevillian. So my father was a stand-up for many years and became a voiceover actor. And so around my house, comedy was kind of like, and comedy albums were everywhere. And I was a huge comedy kind of nerd. I was surrounded by, Jackie Mason records and, George Carlin. My father had George Carlin records. And people, Sammy Shore and I'm trying to think of like, all those old, blanking out about all the Catskills guys, but Jackie Vernon, Jackie Mason, Jackie Leonard, like he did like the insult comic. He was like the first insult comic. And my father had all these classic Jewish albums. When You're in Love, the Whole World is Jewish. And he's on them. My dad's on several of those albums. They're all classic. Booker and Foster, I think anyway, what the point being that when I started, I had a leg up in the sense that I had a language already. But I wasn't good, but I did show flashes of like, because I could do voices, and that saved me when I first started. I could do impressions. So I did a lot of impressions when I first started. I did the standard issue, Jim from Taxi, Woody Allen, and I always had a great closer. My father told me, don't only remember the last 5 minutes of your act. So I always wrote a closer where I did all my voices, and it was always some theatrical thing where I had Woody Allen and Jackie Mason and Eddie Murphy and all the voices that I did in this one tableau where one of them was Iran-Contra the movie. I remember that. It was my first closer where they had Jackie Mason as the Secretary of State, George Shultz. Don't even ask me. I don't even know why I remember that, but I think we're going to send arms over here. Then we're going to get the arms sent this way. And then we're going to get the Contras are going to get we're going to get arms to the Contras, and we're going to get oil, and we're going to, and it was just like it was like political, but it was a killer bit like that got me, and so that always saved me. Like I always looked at my watch and said, if I can kill the first 10 minutes, I can get to my closer and do that. So I was lucky that I had voices and I could do characters, and I would always write them because I hated the traditional impressionist thing where you had to go, I was in the elevator, who walked in? Jack Nicholson and Christopher Walken, and they just happened to be in the elevator with me, and I always hated that. So I always used to try to either do a parody of that or do a some bit that justified the existence of me doing these voices in a way that wasn't contrived, because I had a meta view of comedy from an early age. I knew what a hack was, so I kind of lent to myself. So in answer to your question, I was better, but then again, I one of my first bits was Pee Wee Herman and Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Odd Couple, which was horrible when I look back on it. It was like Felix, you're not cleaning up. The living room is a mess, or whatever. I can't remember. It was just terrible, but it was just awful. But I always had a killer and so I started getting work right away because I was able to just kind of do pretty well. But I was terrified and didn't know who I was as a stand-up. But I was doing like a simulacrum of a lot of I do voices and I do this and I do that, and why is there no mouse-flavored cat food? I had some weird observations that I would do, and so I had just enough. I cobbled together just enough stuff to kind of get my feet, and then I gradually started to find my own voice, and I stopped doing impressions because I just got exhausted from trying to justify their existence in my act. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do any more that, who sounds like that is this guy, I just got, I couldn't do it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What
no, he
if
doesn't. Yeah. What if that guy worked at Subway? You know, it's like, no, it didn't. He didn't. So so that always bothered me. And I'll just say the AJ. I won't say. Oh, I gave it away. But there was a comic who did what I thought was, that's what I don't want to do. Is like he said the impression framework that he set up was. I was at the Dodger game and they let celebrities sing the national anthem now. And I remember seeing this on Evening at the Improv or something. And I remember going, oh, no, I know where this is headed already. I know where this is going, and it's nowhere good. Right. Like, and it was like, no, I was at the Dodger game. You know who was singing the national anthem? And I go, please don't say it. I don't know who it's going to be, but this is not going to end well. And it goes, Prince was singing the national anthem. Prince. I go, now, first of all, Prince was not singing the national anthem, okay, at the Dodger game. Okay. Secondly, just do your impression of Prince singing the national anthem. You don't have to tell me you were at a Dodger game with your dad and make it some heartwarming story when one of the greatest musical artists of all time just happened to walk out just to provide you with your closing bit. You know, like so I remember seeing that going, I don't want to be that guy. And I also remember talking to Daryl Hammond and I think Roger Kabler was another great impressionist one night at Stand Up New York, and we were all talking about this issue. Like we're like a bunch of ventriloquists talking shop. Like how do you come up with your contrived, how do you come up with contrived frameworks to you know what I mean? Like, you know,
I go to a lot of Dodgers games, you know, and I'm like, oh, come on, good one. Come on, Prince. I'm like, I petition the Dodgers to try and get them to hire Prince because I have integrity. I'm not going to say it if it didn't happen.
You might as well just do a parody of that and just go, you know, who's singing say Christopher Walken, right? You know what I mean? Just like for no reason, you know.
I feel like I might have told you this. Do you know Dan Mintz, who's a wonderful comedian, writer, and does one of the voices on Bob's Burgers, does Tina, and he has this joke, and this might not be exactly right, but this is the spirit of it. He's like, so the other day I went into a restaurant and I saw who was at this other table, but Christopher Walken and Jack Nicholson and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I went up to them and I said, oh my God, I can't believe that it's the three of you here. Actually, I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed. I'll leave you alone. And then he leaves. And that's it.
That's really funny. Yeah, that's something that I would be roaring in the back and probably getting a lot of stares from the, from the stare thing.
But by the way, Arnold Schwarzenegger wondered about why there isn't mouse-flavored cat food. I think it might go a little something
like this.
I mean, I love, obviously, like when we've worked together, there are some bits where you use the range of your vocal abilities to service the idea that you want to express. But very clearly, you know, you are a man, who is an individual. You are Brian Scott McFadden. You are not. And I feel like you are a very specific, strong flavor of character and voice. You know, like a thing that I love that you do is repetition of an idea, of a joke, like both to like drive home, you know, if the audience didn't get as, you know, into the absurdity. I mean, but I feel like it's built in that you become like, I feel like you don't even need the audience. Like I feel like you're an incredible performance artist, but also a comedian who entertains audiences and makes them laugh very much, of course. But like your idea, like once you clearly, whenever it was, I've only known you since you've clicked in to who you are and, you know, the things that you're talking and yelling and singing about, like those are the things that you care about. And if you hop into somebody else's essence for a moment, it is you doing that and not, that kid who's like, I gotta fill this final 5 minutes. They gotta remember me, you know?
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I always felt like I reached a place where I said, look, I'll do the voice, but only if it serves the bit, not the other way around, not to justify that. If a voice comes in handy or does something to illustrate something or as part of a larger dynamic. I love impersonating people. I love doing a Scottish accent or something. But I love becoming or working on it where I become the other person and try to nail it. But then I go. But sometimes I'll backwards engineer stuff where I'll go, all right, now I got the Scottish guy, and now what I do them because I don't know where to put him, And I've got a voice, but it doesn't fit anywhere, And so and sometimes something will occur to me, I have a thing about because I did the voice of Eddie Murphy's voice for Hellman's Mayonnaise in Ireland. Don't even ask. It's a true story. I don't even understand it. There's a commercial in Ireland where I'm doing the voice of Eddie Murphy, but they don't say it's Eddie Murphy, but it's a talking mayonnaise jar. And It's going, it's like, close the door, man. I can't believe you left the door open. This was unbelievable, right? And I can't, I got dressing on my face. I was like, or something like that. It's something like that. I can't remember. And I don't say it's Eddie Murphy, but I don't know why I was doing the voice. This was back in the 90s or something, right? And I thought that's really funny if, Hellman's Mayonnaise in Ireland. I can't remember what the bit was. Okay, wait, I had a better bit here. It was. I went to that. I was in, and then I went to Scotland, and I went to what's the place where no one can understand the Glasgow, and I couldn't understand a word anyone said in Glasgow, and so I went to Glasgow, Scotland, and I thought. And people said, you're not going to be able to understand the accent. I said, hey, I saw Shrek. How hard can it be? And that was the joke. But then I said, I went to Glasgow and I couldn't understand. That's a whole nother language. If Shrek had been from Glasgow, Donkey would not have understood a word he said in the movie. So then I got to do the voice of Donkey, I can't believe it. You know what you're doing there. That's a crazy. And if Shrek had been from Glasgow, it would have been like Donkey would be like, I don't know what the hell you're doing, Shrek. I can't understand a word you're saying. I got to do Eddie Murphy in the Shrek with the Scottish, so I was but it was a story based on my own life, going through the thing. So that circuitous long. Sorry. Doing a voice that is part of something larger,
I like it. I mean, I think that makes a ton of sense. And it's really, here's an analogy. When I started out, when I started out in life, I feel like music in my house was the same as comedy in your house because my parents were musicians. So there was just always, certain music playing, and music was one of my first languages. And that's how I got into comedy. And I used to have my closer be a comedy song that I'm like, this definitely works. 5-minute set. This is the 1-minute closer. Whatever happens for those 4 minutes, this will make people enjoy themselves for a while. 10-minute set, I got a 2-minute one. 15-minute set, I got 3. And until eventually I had enough non-music that I was confident in that I didn't need it anymore. But also, and I understand why. I used to say this when I would do musical comedy. I would say, who doesn't love music? And who doesn't love comedy? So who doesn't love musical comedy? Everyone somehow. But but here's the thing: is there is beautiful, artistic, creative, unique musical comedy. Reggie Watts is an incredible, person who does music and comedy. Bo Burnham, Garfunkel and Oates, Tim Minchin. There's incredible. Even Stephen Lynch. I've listened to Stephen Lynch albums. He's an incredible musician, and his songs are funny. And you don't have to. Everyone's not. This doesn't have the same taste. You might not love everyone that I named the same amount, but it's also if you're being, true to yourself, and true to yourself can be doing a character. It can be being absurd. When I started doing comedy, it was just, again, all these disjointed one-line ideas that I threw at the wall. If somebody said to Mitch Hedberg, who are you? Why aren't you telling us about your childhood? Well, that's not what Mitch Hedberg is doing. No. That's not what Stephen Wright is doing. Maria Bamford isn't doing what Hedberg is doing. Chris Rock isn't doing what Aparna Nancherla is doing. Everyone figures out their lane, their avenue. And at a certain point, it makes sense. You want to tell stories or talk about your life, your perspective in a way that's meaningful, not in a way that you're just doing to try to be, just I got to fill the time, got to do something. But also, I realize now, I was thinking about a joke that I used to tell that I decided was kind of cheap because it wasn't really based in reality. But now I'm like, it's fun. There's jokes that aren't, as long as you're like, I agree with you. Like if somebody's like telling a story that is based on a deceptive foundation, like you don't have to do that. Just be like, you want to do the thing, do the thing. Like it's cool. Just do the thing that you want to do. Can I run this by you? I feel like I'm reconstructing it in my head. Yeah. It was something like, oh, and there was a callback involved. So there was this old joke I did that people liked because it was just a silly voice and an idea that I was a vegetarian and I did a show at a steakhouse. And so at the steakhouse show, I said I understood what I was doing when I said, "Hey, is anyone here a vegetarian?" Right. And somebody in the audience yells, "This is a steakhouse!" And I was like, "Well, that's perfect." So then that became a thing that I would talk about and say and do that voice, and it's a silly voice and it was fun for me to do, and people were like, "Oh, that's fun to hear." And it's like, I'm like, that's not the best written joke that I've ever, that's not like the whole thing, but that was a performance based thing. And so then for a while I was closing, when I wasn't closing with music, I would close with this joke that was something about like, there's so many different kinds of relationships and it's always so unclear. Like I was talking to this woman and she was like, I said to her, I was talking to this woman. I was like, are we like in a relationship, or are we dating? Are we just friends? Are we friends with benefits? Like, what are the benefits? Are we engaged? Are we and I keep naming things, and then I would have her say, "Sir, this is a steakhouse," and like the idea was that I was saying these things to a waitress, yes. Which is its own kind of like joke trope that exists, that I think the most notable, the most salient one is like, this person like said really mean things to me, and I was like, "Mom," like, it was your mother who was mean to you, it was your grandmother, it was and like, and I don't mean to like to flex on or say that I'm too good for, like, there are jokes that are, tropes and well-trodden territory, like I feel like there's like common law jokes, or like, is that the thing that I mean? Like when a song, public domain, there's public like domain, kind of public domain, like joke for, like, here's a thing that every once in a while I stumble into this because it's fun to do, but I remember the first person I saw do it, and I'm sure that other people have done this as well. There was a guy, Brendan Small, who created the TV show Home Movies and Metalocalypse, and he had this joke, a really great joke about locking his keys in. He's like, I locked my keys in my in my home. So first he says, has anyone done that? Has anyone else locked their keys in my home? And that. So that's just a throwaway fun thing. Then the joke goes on and it's really fun. But I'm like, oh, that's a fun thing. Like, I don't think he owns. Did anyone do that? Do that me thing. And so that's just a fun thing that's available. And if that's all that you're doing, if you're only like, creating a montage of public domain available jokes, but
that's a really interesting list to put together, like a list of the public domain. Ray Romano used to say to a couple in the front row, he'd go, I got married. We didn't live together. Anybody here married? Did you guys live together? Yeah, we didn't live together. I think it would have been a better idea living with you two before we got married. Yeah, would have been a better idea. Like it's a classic misdirect and a simple formula, but it's like no one owns that. Like you're right. It's like I have a joke about getting pulled over by the cop, and I say, we have this exchange where he says, "Are you a wise guy?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not Mr. Miyagi or anything." I've never been exactly happy with that. I always want to say King Solomon. I always want to connote wisdom. I don't know how to communicate that it's about wisdom exactly. I used Deepak Chopra for a while. I'm not Gandhi. I'm not the Buddha. Well, I'm not the almighty, all-knowing Buddha. Actually, I never thought of that. All-knowing Buddha might work. But
why not do a bunch of? I mean,
well, I do. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I'm not the all-knowing Buddha. I'm not Yoda. I'm not Obi-Wan. But I'm pretty intuitive. What problem are you wrestling with? Like that always gets a big laugh. But that's such a funny thing. The wise guy thing. I never heard anyone really nail that. And use the wisdom angle. So I would strip that. But then at the end, of course, the joke is, so I'm in jail, which I've heard comics, do,
that one is it's like the Aristocrats that you're doing, where the art of it is in the journey, not the destination. Like the destination is inevitable. And the art is what you're doing on your way there.
Yeah. So that's that would be an interesting list of
oh yeah.
It's going to be painful to look at to see which one of those have you used, which one of those have you overused? Which one?
Have you ever? Do you know Andy Daly?
I think so. Yeah.
Andy Daly. He does characters mostly, and one of the characters that he does is like comedian. There's a couple versions of it, probably on Spotify, on like an album of his, and on a comedy Bang Bang, previously comedy Death Ray album, where he does a 5-minute set. And I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but he's basically just doing like, so what else is in the news the whole time, but all versions of like, so the other day, like, and he does a crowd work one where he's like, look at this guy. He must have thought, I'll wear this, like no content.
Right.
And it's a really masterful thing to observe, the lexicon of stand-up comedy, to see the vocabulary that everyone's working with. And, some people are like looking within and sharing stories about their life. Some people are looking without and like doing political analysis. Some people are looking at the language and deconstructing that. Some people are, creating like clowning. Some people are doing physical stuff. Some people are doing voices. But like, I always enjoy like the step back and then looking at the thing, which is another kind of meditative thing, like looking at the looker, can you, like the thing that is looking, that we are, can you look at that? And like, we definitely can look at all of the framings and the frameworks, and like to look at it at other people, it's easy to do, but then to look at ourselves, can be potentially like the same way that meditation can be difficult, that it could be painful, but, probably gainful as well.
Yeah. And nobody talks about frame. I talk about frame when I teach stand-up, or so what's the frame of the joke? Like, are you the butt of the joke? Is you observing? Do you hate what's happening? Do you love what's happening? Are you intrigued? Are you baffled? Like, what is did it happen to my uncle, my friend, a friend of mine, me, my girlfriend, or something you saw, or something that did actually indeed happen to you? I have so many bits of like that. It was not working when I said the truth of the story completely, like 100% true. But then I said I took it out of this venue and put it into another venue, and then the whole bit made way more sense comedically. There was too much exposition that had to go into telling the story of why I'm doing a trainer boxer character. It was so much exposition that I had to get to. Now I just go, I went to the gym, and these guys tell stories that are amazing, and boom, I'm in. It's just like, and it's not exactly the truth of the matter. Was way more complicated than that, but it was too much exposition that was not funny to get to the why I'm doing this bit, why this joke is here, and how to get to it as quickly as possible with a little fat as you have.
Yeah, I have I used to and still do sometimes. Facilitate comedy workshops at this summer camp. So for teenagers, and many years ago, this is like probably 20 years ago, there was a kid at his 13 years old. And the joke idea that he came up with was something like, if, that Batman, if the Punisher, the character, the Marvel Comics character, if he is a superhero, then the kids who did the Columbine shooting are like the dynamic duo, and and so like there might have been more to it than that, but that was like the basic analogy, and I'm like, I understand the joke logic is, yes, the Punisher is a murderer and
Yes.
he is presented as a hero. And so if that's so, then why not these other two murderers
Yes.
be presented as other heroes? And like, he shared it with the group.
Which sounds good on paper, okay, comedically, but not really. But go ahead, yes.
Yeah, and so, but the thing that I offered at the time, and I was also newer to comedy, and certainly even newer to teaching comedy. Like, if he was an adult and a friend of mine, I'd be like, you can try it, give it a shot, see if audiences like it. But in the group of I was like trying to guide these young students. I was like, everyone, most of the people were like, I don't know about that one. And I was like, and you can understand why everyone's like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
And I suggested, what if you had someone else in the joke say that to you, and then you could react in a horrified way, like the way that the audience will react because you're saying a horrifying thing. And so I'm like, it's a trick, but it'll certainly work better if you're not the one presenting this as your idea.
Right. Now that's a classic example of how switching the frame, switching the perspective, switching that alters, and it's just one shift, and it allows you to say this very same thing once removed and with enough plausible deniability to shield yourself from any kind of issue. We're actually, sort of at the end of this. Some time has flown by. We usually work on bits here, so we sort of have, like we've discussed this, but we usually drag in things that aren't working or something that needs tweaking or something on the show. One thing so I want to mention one while we're on the show, like I have, and if you have anything, but like I was coming. A guy was running out of a Dwayne Reed. He was shoplifting. And we talked about this on the show already. And Adam's going to get mad at me because I have a tendency to bring back bits that I'm still not happy or not work. Right, Adam? We did this already, right? We did. Oh, never mind. Okay, never mind. Okay. I know we did it. Yes. No, but this is a classic example, Mike. And we'll get off. We did this on the show last week. A guy was running out of Dwayne Reed. I'll just introduce it to him, and then we'll wrap up and do plugs unless Mike has something. But we have a premise wheel. Oh yeah, we have a premise wheel. Let's do the premise wheel really quick. Let's do a quick premise wheel. We have a wheel of premises, and not much longer here.
Premises. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's see. What do we have?
Wheel is spinning.
We got couples that share everything.
Okay.
Well, let me get my girlfriend in here for this one. I think she'll have some thoughts about it. Yeah.
Right. Couples that share. Okay. Couples that share everything. Anything leap to mind, Mike? Right. I guess because I'm right now going, I don't know.
I mean, the thing that leaps to mind, like initially on the topic of couples that share everything is number one, my first thought was like, I don't know if this would if this were a show, like if I was if the goal of this is to create a bit that I do alone, then the thing that I said won't work. But in the context of this, comedic moment where I'm like, I have to come up with an idea for couples that share everything, and I'm like, I need my girlfriend to help me figure out what this is because we share everything. But the initial thought that I have after that is, so the secondary thought, I suppose, you know what they say, second thought, second best thought. And the idea of what about couples who share nothing, couples who live separately, who have never met, couples. I mean, you always hear about the couples who share everything, but what about the couples that don't even know each other, couples that don't even know that they're couples? Like one is a monk in China and the other one is a squid at the bottom of the ocean. And these are couples that almost share nothing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, that's a very interesting take, and and so if we were to hash this out, if we were actually going to deep dive, I go, that's really interesting. Like, but are they really a couple then, Mike? If they what defines couple? If it's a squid and a monk, which sounds like a children's book, right? The Squid and the Monk, right? A map. Myq Kaplan's Guide for Relationships. The Squid and the Monk, right? If they,
yes, and so yeah, if you were to say that to me, yes, in the spirit of what the premise is presenting as, yes, I would say there's an argument that the squid and the monk who don't know each other, who live in completely different time periods, let alone time zones, one's on another planet. Yes. By that means they are not a romantic couple, but by the definition in which couple simply means two, then the squid and the monk are two.
So
point. I got a couple of people that a couple of things I want to talk to you about. One's a monk, one's a squid. There's a couple.
There's a couple right there.
Yeah.
Now that is a Myq Kaplan construction right there. That is a vintage classic Myq Kaplan construction. I would probably go in the direction of give us to share everything. How come we can't share your girlfriend? Like if they're going to share, we need to share everything. All right, well then bring in Bambi, your best friend over there. I think that would be very important for us to share something that would like.
And then I would say to you, well then also you should share the boyfriend as well if it's a heterosexual couple. And
that's right.
You're like, oh, if you're bringing in one, then you have to bring the other because they share everything. They share you.
I understand. Yeah. Yes, they can share me. I'd rather her just get a pet squid. But anyway, there you go. And scene. Okay, right? Or a monk. You can have a friend. Bring in your really, really sexy monk friend. Anyway, that's good. There we go. You got two sides of the thing. We got two possible explorations there. That was a perfect ending to the show. I think we're good, Adam, right? We're pretty good on that. Yeah. All right, so that's today's Chasing Comedy podcast. Mike, you want to plug anything? It's been our pleasure to have you on the show. And
sure, thank you so much for having me. I think everyone should listen to this podcast that they just listened to, as well as my podcast that, Brian, you'll be a guest on it soon. Sure. Broccoli and Ice Cream is the name of my podcast. I have another one called The Faucet. I did already name all of my comedy specials. I do have a number of stand-up albums as well that are on your various streaming services, Spotify and the like. So look for Myq Kaplan, spelled the weird way I spell it, MyQ Kaplan. And you can follow me on social media at those. You can go to my website. That's that. I have a Substack newsletter that I put out weekly for free, and you can subscribe for even more. That's myqkaplan.substack.com. I share jokes, and also I share like sort of longer essays about jokes that I love. Frequently, usually every other week, I do a Mitch Hedberg joke because Mitch Hedberg is one of my eternal favorites. And then each week in between the Mitch Hedberg jokes, like this week, I did a Paul F. Tompkins joke that I love, and I've done some friends like Josh Gondelman and Liz Glazer, but then other like various. There's an Emo Phillips, there's a Stephen Wright, there's a Maria Bamford, like just jokes that have really stuck with me that have like broader implications than just the text of the joke that means something in life. So that's myqkaplan.substack.com. But if you search for Myq Kaplan spelled my way, you'll find, and come see me on tour. Those are find me live and find me recorded. Yeah,
if you like that Mitch Hedberg kind of stuff, fascinating the dives and stuff, and Stephen Wright-esque, Mike has some amazing stuff. He's got these books, but he has his own, obviously, and some of these books are really, really cool. I got my I got one of them.
I really appreciate that, and also I feel like I'm glad that I remembered to say this on the topic of couples that share everything. The newest special that I have coming out is one that my girlfriend and I co-created together. Her name is Rini. It is about our relationship, and the special is called Rini, and will be out later this year if all goes according to plan. So we are indeed a couple that shares much.
A lot. Okay. Myq Kaplan, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And
thank you so much.
Adam Holtz, thank you for being quick on the wheel. You're the man. And that's Chasing Comedy today.
Well, folks, that's our show. It's time for us to go. Make sure to follow us, give us a like, drop us a comment, and always subscribe. We're chasing comedy on all the socials. We hope you had a gas, had some laughs, and maybe you learned something too. Until next time, we're Brian and Dustin, and we're chasing comedy.